really starting to shine through at this point. However, we also saw Team Liquid have a very dominant win over T1 in their first game of the series, and now this is G2. They are going to have their first game on the blue side in this series, and we'll have to see what the adaptations are. It is so important how they choose to play around the Tristana.
You know, I think the best way to play around it is to just ban it away, or you got to first pick it here on the side of G2. And we'll see if Top Esports gives credit to that and bans it away themselves. It is going to be the Lucian first ban from them. See the Zyra first ban, as they said, well, that's just too fast at clearing the jungle, and we could not keep up with it. That's not the type of game that we want to play, say G2. And we'll see if, you know, they'll have a nice strategy coming into the second game after what was a very dominant first game from Top.
It's really interesting to see the difference in how effectively this Zyra has been played over the past couple of games, right? We have seen that it has had absolutely dominating performances, and we've also seen that it was completely ineffective, but Top Esports absolutely love playing around this style of game where they just remove entire lanes from the game. With the Tristana banned already by G2, it really looks like it's setting up their mid laner to potentially play the Corki uncontested.
Yeah, seems like Top Esports are going to say that, or see that rather, and say, no, we are not going to allow you to play the Corki. So no Tristana, no Corki, but this does leave Rumble available. And to be honest, Rumble, I feel like, is #1 on the chopping block when it does come down to picks in this meta, right? And generally it does get banned away pretty early on the red side, but they're just going to give it over to the side of G2, and G2 will not escape that opportunity to take it, and they will immediately first pick it.
There's not a lot of lanes that can really go toe-to-toe with Rumble. One of the things that you oftentimes look to do is you just lane swap into it, but it does look as though 369 might be going towards one of those classic picks that you can play into the Rumble, get a lot of magic damage up in the top lane, and instead going to be going for the Yone right away. Now, this is really interesting. This has been one of the common picks that has been used as a counter pick to Corki's quite a bit, but there's obviously no Corki coming out in this game. It's going to be a blind Yone, and in fact, a blind Kennen, double blind solo lanes coming out from Top Esports.
Yeah, it does come out pretty early. I thought maybe we were going to see the Sejuani just to try to get a really strong mid-jungle duo on the side of Top Esports, but that is not the case, as now a Malphite being hovered, saying, okay, we could do this. We could swap all around some of these lanes, but instead it's just going to be the Vi. Talia also available. Could be a look. We saw Talia Vi working out for T1 in Game 3 of the first series tonight.
It is worth noting that Yike does hover all kinds of crazy things. As soon as I saw the Malphite, I was like, huh, that's not Anivia, though. So we got to see where he goes from that. But with this Vi already picked up, you have a very potent combo with what we've already seen. And, oh, we are going to be getting a LeBlanc coming through from Caps. We have seen a couple of bans towards this champion so far in the tournament, but no actual picks for it during the Esports World Cup. It's going to be Caps looking for an opportunity to shut down Cream on the Yone, but this is a very volatile mid lane. Even if LeBlanc does have a bit of an advantage in the laning phase, if anything goes wrong at all, the Yone can absolutely dominate the rest of the game.
Definitely can, but that LeBlanc and the Vi together are such a deadly duo. The two of them together can find targets from miles away and isolate them and take them down. We'll see if they can get some success with that, as the Maokai is the choice here for Top Esports in the jungle, as they will avoid the Sejuani entirely and just go for this pick instead. Definitely can feel pretty good into what is a very aggressive composition so far from G2.
And it's not common either that we have so much of the top side picked at this point and none of the bottom lane, right? Now we actually have to see what is going to happen with so many powerful picks in the bottom side of the map already removed. The Ashe next on the chopping block, the Lucian already gone as well. I'm really expecting to see picks like the Bars start to rise in priority in these games once again, because we're not expecting Ezreal to be there. It's already gone. The Ashe is gone. And Varus really is kind of that next tier of AD carry that I expect to see in these games.
Yeah, would not be too surprised to see that coming up next. For Top Esports, they're thinking about what, AD carry they want to get. And essentially, it's a little bit of a game of chicken, because they could ban a top one and then, maybe hope that G2 don't ban another one so that they can get a top AD carry. But instead, it is just going to be the Braum that does get banned away, which has been rising in priority over the course of Esports World Cup.
It's just asking for a Leona ban to follow it, though, right? If you do have this as the red side, you could just grab the Leona, and the Braum has been the classic counter pick. And now G2 has to decide, if we give them Leona, what are we going to get instead? Is it going to be an Alistar ban, really just daring Mako to play the Leona, which I see no reason not to.
They're saying, okay, you want an even better spot to pick Leona? Well, ban away Alistar.
Now you have to pick a good champ.
Yeah. If you're not picking Leona here, I do not know what the choice would be, to be honest, and they will choose it here. So let's see what G2 have prepared, because they had to have known that this would be selected, and they have to have something very nice prepared to deal with it.
You don't do this without having some kind of plan for the Leona, and it actually surprised me a little bit that G2 are taking as long as they are to go for the champions that they will be locking in. The Forest does end up being the answer, and the Rel, not nearly as common of an answer. It has been very strong in the past, and there are some good tools to combo this with the Chain of Corruption as well as the Equalizer, where you can blow up large swaths of the board, but it feels as though you just made your game needlessly a little bit harder, because even with all these tools, the Maokai and the Kennen are going to create so much zone control that Caps and Broken Blade are going to struggle to get in.
That's really the biggest issue, I think, for G2 is those two champs you mentioned, the Kennen disengage.
Very much in favor of top esports here, making sure that their team has the energy necessary to power their way through this one. We load onto the Rift for what could be the last game of the semifinals. And I have to say, as we were talking about before, Valdez, it feels as though Top Esports is in pole position to try and take this one home. I really am looking forward to what they actually do with this Kennen as well. It was a very clearly prepared counter pick going into Broken Blade's Rumble, because of how quickly they were willing to lock in both their solo laners as soon as the Rumble came through.
Yeah, and we talked a lot about how this the Kennen and the Maokai could definitely do a number in terms of dealing with the engage on the side of G2, but at least for G2, they have the LeBlanc, they have the Varus, who do have a very nice amount of range, not just in terms of their auto attack range, but their ability to do damage from a very far distance and kind of just get out without much of a scratch. So still an opportunity to try to beat out, you know, Slicing Maelstrom from 369 and then just, you know, kind of Chain of Corruption him in position and then just not even deal with him at all. And certainly angles for G2. So I'm very excited to see what we are going to see in terms of the back and forth team fights in this one, as, speaking of which, Cap's just going to find an extra tree in that bush that's not quite supposed to be there.
Yeah, a little bit surprising for Tian to go there, but every little bit of health advantage can make big plays possible later on, as Mickey.
Yeah. Speaking of which, he is going to have to jump over the wall here, as already is taking a big chunk down in that bottom lane. And he's not going to be feeling too good about that one. Meanwhile, 369 just taking a bit of harass himself. Tian, level 2 on the blue buff, and now he's entering Yike's jungle.
Very aggressive already coming out from Tian, but they seem to have a good read that Yike is going to be towards the top side. This looks like good scouting on the behalf of Top Esports and their coaches and analysts identifying, Yike really likes starting the top half of the map. He's going to be going for this clear, and Tian, that means that you have time if you just do one buff, as Mako already goes in.
Yeah, I mean, level 2 advantage here for the bottom lane of Top Esports. They get a huge health advantage on top of this, especially in the support role, as, you know, not too surprising, I would say, especially after Mickey X did face check the brush and did fall behind, as here comes Yike. He is going to be spotted. He is level 3, and over the wall he does come, but just in time for Tian to get away with his buff.
And that is a brutal position to be in, as Yike, yet another situation where these jungles end up falling behind simply because they do not have the same kind of read on where their opponents are as they do. And now Top Esports will allow Tian to clear out his entire side of the jungle. He still has Gromp, the Wolves, and his entire northern quadrant to actually play around. However, it does mean that the top side of the map will be left to its own devices for a little while, as the Caps clone does actually get proc relatively early on. But Tian has so much freedom to move around the map now, simply because Yike is going to be trying to find something on the top half of the map.
Yeah, absolutely, especially with the Caps dominating this mid lane matchup. He is going to get on in there. We'll see just how aggressive he wants to get. He's going to start on the Raptors. and knows that he will not be affected here for just a moment. TN is about to figure this out, as we just saw Yike find out about his own red buff. They will spot each other here in the jungle, and that is going to be Yike only taking the Raptor, so he will not be able to get the red buff, and Mako has already roamed up here to mid, alongside a Mickey X who's following him up, so a lot of follow roams here from both sides.
It just is an entire party from everyone on both sides trying to rectify some of the issues that we saw previously. Yike is fully on a ward, so should not be able to pick up this red buff at all, as Tian does smite that one away, but could potentially go for something a little bit more aggressive, as looking to potentially hop the wall into the Krugs, does not in fact get spotted, as we just see these very small skirmishers across the board.
Yep, we got supportal combat here on the bottom river. That's barely going to go the way of Mako, and Cream, meanwhile, is going to get that knock up in mid and start to slowly but surely find a way back here in this matchup. Early on, that should go the way of LeBlanc, and Caps is doing a great job of exerting that pressure in the mid lane, as you would expect.
But still, Tian doing a really good job at managing where Yike can go, because Yike didn't have anything to farm, finds themselves on the top side of the map, trying to create some opportunities for Broken Blade, but not going to be able to find that gank whatsoever, and Tian showing himself will allow Broken Blade to crash this wave into the top side turret. But it is going to still be a good wave position up here for Broken Blade, as he does have at least somewhat of a freeze to deny some minions from his opponent.
Yeah. Does feel pretty good up there in the top side for Broken Blade. Now, we are going to see Caps TPing back into mid here. Cream was winning out in some of those trades in the mid lane and has caught up a decent amount in terms of CS. So Cream should feel pretty good about the way that one did go for the last 30 seconds. Tian, once again, very proactive, looking for another angle here, maybe down on the bottom side of the map, as Ansama is going to find the tree once again, does proc that cleanse, as that TP is just going to go into the mid lane.
A really good cleanse coming out from Hansama, very timely. It does mean that nothing further comes of that, but Tian is going to be a little bit ahead. One of the downsides of actually going for this early on invade is that none of your camps are cycled, as Cream going aggressive, and Tian is around.
Caps, yeah, he's going to lose that distortion as well, but yeah, not going to dive LeBlanc. Definitely kind of a fool's errand if you did want to try to go for that one, especially at level 6. But still, very much on a knife's edge here. Feels like the trades are very close in a lot of these lanes. And, you know, once we hit that tipping point, once someone gets that first kill, they could easily run away with this one. Decent gold lead early on for G2 without any kills so far. Just CS leads in mid and top, doing the majority of that gold lead.
Yeah, a lot of it will equal out here in just a moment, but G2 is going to be sending Caps good to get that fruit. But the other major thing is we will see this gold lead tip back towards Tian relatively shortly, unless Yike is able to pick up some of these grubs without any contest. And now 369 running back into the map is going to get there a little bit too late, and Tian not looking like they're going to be contesting this set of grubs whatsoever. So good stuff to Yike. It does make Caps in the side lane not necessarily known for being the best champion at taking the turrets, but very good at getting to them in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. Just the threat that LeBlanc has to push lanes and get out scot-free just allows you that extra leash to push on in, get damage to turrets, and get out without much risk. As we do see 369 dashing around a lot. Looks like he did have to run all the way back to lane, as you were mentioning before. Isn't too far behind and should be okay. Still waiting for that first kill as Mako here in the mid lane, maybe trying to get something done onto Caps, but Mako himself only level 5, and no grubs to fight over at this point in time, so nobody making their way into the top river.
And no trade for the Dragon either after the grubs were picked up. It is going to be top esports not necessarily having the same kind of explosive early game, or not, I mean, just aggressive early game that we were seeing from them in the first game of the series. No Zyra means it's a lot harder to go for the tri-lane because, as Ox pointed out, you don't have the same amount of time as a Maokai. You just have so much freedom to stay down here in the bottom lane when you're the Zyra, because you do every single camp without looking at it. But now Tian going to be starting up this dragon, does have Mako in the jungle, and Jackie Love could rotate over relatively quickly if they wanted to, and Priority in the mid lane as well. This should be an objective going over to top esports.
Yeah, you would imagine that it just gets taken down here without much contest from the side of G2, although as I say that, I mean, Caps is dashing on over, wants to get at least some vision in the river and maybe poke their head in and see what they can see. As the ward goes in, the smite is there, and top esports get the dragon without much of a contest. Although Mickey X is trying to aggressively posture here, and he will be able to hop away. As the rail not in too much danger here. We see the equalizer up in the top side. Looks like Broken Blade went for a very aggressive trade himself.
No kills just quite yet though, Valdez, as everyone just able to get out of everything. I am expecting to see, whoa, not that.
Yeah, the lease right at the end of it. Cream is going aggressively in, and Caps just on the run here, but gets knocked up. As the clone is going to be chased in the river. And meanwhile, down on the bottom side, here's Tan once again, and he's got Nature's Grasp. That will be the first blood given over to the Maokai. At 9 minutes, it comes a little bit late, but top esports get the job done.
Finally does come through, and top esports has a small gold lead, it looks like, for the first time this game, as they will be able to find that kill down in the bottom side. Unfortunately for top esports, like you said, it will be going over towards the Maokai. They would have loved to put that into Jackie Love, and at the same time, with Maokai committing down towards the bottom side, here comes the cross map.
Yeah, Yike has not used his ult yet, and that is the dash out of 369, and here it is, the flash away, slicing Maelstrom immediately as Yike is under the turret. He's in a lot of trouble, and down he will go. 369 in the 1v2 will win it, but here is Caps in the top lane, and immediately he trades it back. So G2 looks a little shaky there at first, but they do at least trade a kill back.
Really good roam up from Caps, making sure that the kill does end up going over. I feel as though the ultimate coming through from Yike, knowing that the flash is still up, a little bit greedy. We'll take another look at it as soon as Yike shows himself. We see 369 running away. The flash comes through, the ultimate comes through, and too many tower shots end up getting taken down. But then 369, he's a bit big for his britches. Doesn't realize that there's a LeBlanc around the corner.
Oh boy, meanwhile, looks like Broken Blade has overstayed his welcome. Mako looking to punish this one as he's in the alcove, and he can run around in there, but 1Q will get the job done. Even Solar Flare as well, as somehow he gets a equalizer off, actually, to push the lane back. So not half bad there. Won't take any turret damage or plates to go to top esports, but he still goes down, and top esports will still enjoy the kill.
We're always going to look at where the cross map comes in from there, but it doesn't look as though G2 are ready anywhere on the map to make a play happen. Yike does not have the ultimate available just quite yet, but they could potentially still look for a dive on the bottom side as Mako leaves some pressure mid.
Yeah, Caps just have the Mimic Distortion. That's going to get this TP, though, out of the side of G2, as it is Broken Blade. Does not have the equalizer, and not quite enough damage to get on top of him. Mako will respond with a Respect Flash to come out, but now Broken Blade, awkward spot, but here comes Darrell. The engage on a 2. The Magnet Storm is huge, as everybody on the side of G2 is here, and they do collapse and get 2 kills in the mid lane.
A great counter again coming through from G2 to find multiple kills, gives them over right here to Broken Blade. A much needed money going over towards the top laner at the same time, and both AD carries just wailing away on the side lane turrets as we get another teleport to come through, as so much pressure being relieved across the board, but G2 finally pulling ahead in this game with a couple of kills going their way.
Absolutely. I mean, some free time with the turret on bot. Jackie Love has some free time himself, as Caps, he's been such a huge menace. It feels like he's pulling a lot of attention towards him, but he's LeBlanc. He's totally fine. He has not died at all, as he will just distort away from the enemy team, as it does look like Hansama should be able to get the first turret blood, even against the 2 members of top esports. We'll see what this race looks like, but looking good for Hansama right now.
Hansama is able to just step so far forward here because they have enough vision control on the bottom side of the map, and 369 has no idea where so many of the members of G2 are, that he has no opportunity to even try to contest the bottom lane structure. So it will be the first break going over to G2, but it's very quickly matched, but still a little bit of extra gold as Tiana has to run.
Yeah, he has to get away from this one, as A Q could come down from Mickey X, and Tien just has to go back in. He knows he's going down here without much recourse, although here comes Cream. He's going to line up two, and now the re-engage from the side of Top Esports. A lot of low health bars, but they can't quite get a kill. Finally, Jackie Love will get one, but he has to flash away. Mickey X, the second to eventually fall as they're diving Jackie Love in the top lane, and they will take him down. But Cream is such a huge menace on this Yone, and that is going to be the route here. Unbound Soul comes in, and Broken Blade will give the double kill over to Cream, Top Esports' mid laner.
Both of these mid laners are everywhere in so many of these fights, but Cream coming out a little bit ahead when all is said and done, probably because 369 the far side also getting even more money. But Cream just finding so many of these small opportunities, another ultimate in that one to just keep his teammates alive for a little bit longer. However, another dragon is spawning, and it looks as though G2 looking to create pressure here and push 369 away from this side of the map.
Hansama's just on a ward. He has no idea as he's getting flashed on by a Maokai, but it might actually bite them back as no, Hansama will be stunned down, and Tien is totally fine as in goes Jackie Love, and he will be gifted a double kill himself. So Top Esports, a couple of huge plays, and they should be able to get this Infernal Drake as well.
And it has to be a tragedy here for all the G2 fans, all the LEC, the European fans trying to find some opportunity to turn things back on Top Esports. It's been back and forth so far, but these last couple of plays just going in favor of Top Esports really creates a big question for the rest of the game, because Top Esports, it feels as though their composition is a little bit easier to play in some ways. You have the Ken and you have the Yone, who can both create a lot of pressure in the side lanes, and they don't ever have to get battle to G2, and they can just fight him anyway.
Cap's just isolated, has nowhere to go. He's going to be taken down, and the two carries right now are Cream and Jackie Love, and the two of them come together to just absolutely assassinate the LeBlanc. As Caps, he thought he was safe. I was talking about the, mobility of this pick, but he's not able to mobility his way out of that death. Now it is going to be the Rift Herald that does go over to G2, but at this point in time, just kind of feels like a small gift compared to what Top Esports are getting.
And Hansama, like you said, having no idea that they are on a ward, was looking to push out 369 earlier, potentially looking for a bit of a play, but doesn't have the same kind of burst as Lethality Varus was showcasing even earlier, not this event, but even during the regular season for all of these teams. And now Mickey X, a little bit in danger of potentially making a similar mistake. Does have some friends in the back pocket, but there's a lot of Top Esports members here.
They're going to spot him as the Rel is pretty good at getting out of the first engage. Can he get out of the second one? The slow comes down on a Hansama, and now the Nature's Grasp here. Mickey X has to flash away just to survive. Meanwhile, the Nature's Grasp get extended up to Yike. He's going to have to flash away himself. And Top Esports, they're just on the hunt for any champion on the side of G2.
And G2, they have Broken Blade, but he's not going to be able to get a whole lot of damage on this structure. Just a little bit of minion damage fed to the Tower Gods. However, it is still Top Esports creating a bit more pressure. Now, one of the big things that I am going to be looking at yet again, Broken Blade, we put some pressure on him at the very beginning. He got the first pick in the entire game. He's on this Rumble. He is up about 1,000 gold, but when you look at the rest of the map, it doesn't look nearly as good for the side of G2, and that means that so much of their damage is going to have to come out from this Rumble.
Yeah, he's going to have to lift some heavy weight, and yes, there is a slight lead in the jungle as well, but it still feels like Tana's done more so far in this game, right? I mean, Yike got that ult in top lane where they traded 1-for-1, and then it wasn't a great situation. It feels like he hasn't gotten a lot of value out of that extremely valuable vial. So it's been a bit of a struggle for him. Whereas on the side of Top Esports, they have the gold in the right pockets, right? It's in the Yone, it's in the Kai'Sa, who are both, about to hit 2 items, at least in the case of the Yone. Kai'Sa's already got it. Mako thinking about getting there onto Broken Blade, but not going to overextend, as Top Esports going to enjoy about a 1,500 gold lead here in the mid game.
At the same time, we also got to look at the fact that we are blessed once again, Valdez, with the Hex Tech Soul in this game, as we get to see Jackie Love over 1,000 gold on anyone else in the game. In fact, his lane opponent, Hansama, the closest player in the entire game. But as the Rift Herald does crash, With about 2 minutes left on the Hextech Dragon, we're going to have to look at how Top Esports can continue to build up some of these small advantages. They got 4 Dragons straight in that last game. They've gotten 2 more, 6 Dragon streaks so far. Probably more than that, honestly, if we look at their previous series. But Top Esports have had so much control. And like we said at the beginning, they have a lot of dangerous ults that you have to be aware of. A lot of redundant crowd control coming from the side of Top Esports. And so, if Yike goes in, if Caps goes in, suddenly it's a very dangerous place to be, because once you go in, it's very difficult to get out.
You're not getting out. I mean, there's just so much lockdown from the Slicing Maelstrom, the Nature's Grasp, the Solar Flare. Even the Leona can be very good at peeling if Mako's in the right spot. Top Esports, they've found a lot of picks themselves. They don't even necessarily have to do that, but I think if you find a couple of members of G2 that are out of position, you can still look for opportunistic picks from their side, and they've been pretty good about doing that, but also not overextending and getting out of position, because really where their bread is buttered is in that disengage and kind of re-engaging from a good position for them. As Tian is he's in his own jungle, but he is spotted. It doesn't look like G2 are going to overextend for him, but they're certainly trying to set up some vision here around the next dragon that's about to spawn.
It's going to be hard for G2 to maintain any position here with just the amount of poke that will be coming through. JackeyLove does have the 2 items. Suddenly that W becomes, oh, it's not quite evolved just quite yet, but he is getting very close. But still, Top Esports, they have the Maokai to push things around. They also have plenty of opportunities for Cream and 369 to potentially teleport to very dangerous flanks. They will be teleporting Yone into the mid lane. But with the Dragon still spawning in about 10 seconds, Top Esports will be able to take control of the mid lane first.
Yeah, the mid-prio definitely going to be very important.
Oh,
They're just going to flash onto the LeBlanc. Not sure about that one, but honestly, it's still working. As the Nature's Grasp, he puts himself in such an excellent position. As now the Slicing Maelstrom onto everybody. It finds all of the front line of G2. They all get decimated, and it's a triple kill for JackeyLove.
369 doing so much work and creating space, but JackeyLove, the big recipient of all of those kills coming through. A massive gold lead and a massive actually coming through for Top Esports. They're going to get this mid lane turret. They should be able to get the bot lane turret. They're going to be getting this Hextech Dragon as well. Every single one of these advantages just stacking itself up right after each other for Top Esports. And Valdez, it might be a little too early to call this one, but it's starting to feel very demoralizing for the G2 fans. That looked like it could have been a fight where Top Esports was overextending and G2 were not able to capitalize.
I mean, the engage came in so quickly, I hardly was even able to react to it. It was just, you know, they saw G2 in mid lane and they said, okay, we're just going to send it. And they didn't have to do this, but it worked out so well.
Well, a massive part of this is Caps having to use both the normal distortion and the ult distortion to get out. It means that he doesn't have a lot of damage left over to contribute. He tries to jump onto JackeyLove, but there's no actual threat with 369 creating so much space in the rest of the fight. JackeyLove is free to hit whoever he wants, and turns out he wanted to hit everybody.
And that he did. You know, if you're the ones being proactive, diving into them, it can be hard for G2 to kind of turn the damage onto the right targets, especially when everybody's kind of floundering, trying to get away from the engage. And so JackeyLove just all the room and time in the world to take down those kills. Now he's got 6 on the Kai'Sa, which is a pick we don't see too often, but when it comes out and when it gets fed, you can see the power of this pick in this position specifically, especially once you begin to build some AP and you can just poke people down. As now looks like Caps is caught once again, but they're trying to get on top of JackeyLove, and they will. It's a shutdown over the mark, but no, they're so out of position, and everybody on the side of G2 is once again going to be caught up here. They sacrifice JackeyLove, but they take 3 people with them.
And Yike is too low. He's not going to be able to do anything about this Baron as it does go down. JackeyLove has to just pull out the water. He knows, like, yeah, that was fine. The rest of my team does have this after all. And 369, another massive ult in another team fight. Caps will try to do something, but he has nothing to say.
Yeah, Caps, he's desperate to just try to do whatever he can, as now Yike is going to get into the backside of this pit, but Top Esports, they're not going to take any risks with this one. They're going to stop hitting the Baron. They immediately turn onto the Vi, and Yike doesn't really have an angle to get into this one. It is pretty low, and he nearly does get in there, but it's not quite going to happen. As now Mako, you see Mickey X, he's like, maybe I can get in on the action. Well, the answer is no. Well, I suppose he does get in on the action, but he'll just immediately die, as the kill will go over to Jackie Love, and Top Esports, they are running away with this game.
The Baron buff comes through. They're already up 2,000 gold in this power play. The 5,000 gold lead come through, and the chants are also starting to get pumped in from the arenas. Top Esports fans, so many of them traveling here to be in Riyadh, are ecstatic that their team is starting to come up with so many of these plays. And G2, the desperation that we were talking about them feeling before is in full effect now. Caps doesn't have the money to do anything in these games. Broken Blade, who had a lead up against 369 for so much of the game, has now fallen behind after a couple of massive team fights from 369.
We'll take a look at the replay once again. It's, you know, they get the pick. They're trying desperately to do what their comp does, which is press your Vialt, get an equalizer on top, and get a kill. And they do that, but then this happens.
Yeah, 369 finding a full ultimate on top of Han Sama just means that the Varus goes down very quickly, and with so many resources expended on trying to take on Jackie Love, you have nothing left for the rest of the team, and now we'll see how many structures they can get. Ultimate's already out.
Yeah, they're just pushing forward. The Nature's Grasp going to create so much room as Caps is just flying all over the map, and now Cream is going to get in there as well. The damage to Equalizer is actually very nice, but do they have the follow-up? It looks like the answer is absolutely no, as Cream just waltzing into 4 people. He even gets away alive. Not sure why he was walking that way, but you know, it's fine. He survives, and Top Esports still have a minute left on their Baron buff.
However, they have lost a lot of those health bars, so even though they lost a mid lane turret and a kill from Yike, it does mean that Top Esports will not have nearly as much, but the teleport comes out from Cream, Jackie Love backing away, so there is a small opportunity here for a 4v4 with no ultimates. It's going to be very difficult to make anything happen, as more and more gold will be going over. A 4,000 gold power play gets to 5,000 here as another turret actually falls. And crucially here, Valdez, with 40 seconds left until the Hex Tech Soul will be spawning, Top Esports have set themselves up for some massive gold backs.
Yeah, they get all this gold, they put it over their shoulder, they bring it to the shopkeeper, they buy probably nearly a full item, and then they fight for Hextech Soul, as Caps might just die. The power of the Kaisa really being felt here, but did Jackie Love go too far? We've seen him do it many a time, but it looks like he will be just fine in this case, as Caps is going to be the one limping away.
Top Esports just muscle their way into the southern quadrant of the map, and now G2 have to be so careful. Every single brush they want to try and check, you never know which one has a sapling or a Maokai or a cannon in it. And at the same time, Top Esports is going to be cleaning up the dragon. They're going to be starting it, and Yike not even able to get to the dragon.
He just can't get in, and Mako's just the security guard right in the front. Hansama already has to cleanse before the fight even really begins. They find Yike, and he is just isolated. Down he goes. The equalizer doesn't hit anyone, and now Top Esports gonna send it right into that back lane. It is an absolute decimation as they clean them up in the mid lane, and Top Esports, they might have just booked themselves a ticket to the finals.
369 only rolling 9 so far in this game. This cannon looking absolutely monstrous, and now Top Esports, like you said, 10,000 gold in the lead, 26 minutes in. G2 have to rely on Caps to try and do something to keep this game going.
Oh, and he's just being dove on as well. The Maokai, you can't get away from that, as there is no follow-up. It doesn't matter. The rest of the team is just hitting the turrets. They don't care about the LeBlanc. You see Mickey X once again desperate to try to peel off of the Nexus, but it's not going to happen. Mickey X will go down, and Top Esports, now they're just playing with their food. This has not been a close 2-0, but it is a 2-0. Top Esports will move on to the finals.